The Department of Public Health and Human Services is pleased to bring you Aging Horizons. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, fraud, legal issues, veterans benefits, and caregiving. Aging Horizons is a program dedicated to inform and prepare Montanans on these timely issues, making a difference to you and your loved ones. Here now is today's program host.
Welcome to Aging Horizons, and today's show we'll be talking at the Governor's Conference on Aging with representatives from the McLaughlin Research Institute here in Great Falls. We'll be talking to the head of the organization, plus we'll be talking to several researchers as they are looking into common issues and diseases and problems with seniors, and particularly like Alzheimer's. They're looking at starting some trials. This will be great. Stay tuned.
A decade of Montana fourth graders on Energy Share. When winter gets tough here in Montana, Lily Wallace knows who can help keep your home warm. Energy Share. That's right, says Livia Little. Energy Share wants to make sure that every Montanan stays warm, no matter how cold it gets outside. Thanks to Energy Share, we'll be cozy tonight. Energy Share is not a government program. It's neighbors helping neighbors who face energy emergencies the Montana way. Call or visit our website today. Energy Share is a good way to care.
Can you say ombudsman?
Ombudsman. Benson?
Uma Doodlesman? Fortunately, you don't have to say it right to get the help of a long-term care ombudsman. If you or a loved one reside in assisted living or long-term care, an ombudsman can help resolve any issue. And these services are completely free and confidential. Now, why don't you try that again?
Ombudsman.
Did you just text me?
I didn't want to disturb you if you were sleeping.
Sleeping? I'm sitting right next to you, silly.
There you are. Hey, I found a couple of Medicare helping programs online that I think we ought to look into.
It says if we qualify, we can get help paying for our prescription drugs. Oh, and there's a program that can help pay our Part B premium.
To learn more about extra help and Medicare savings programs, call your local SHIP counselor today.
Maybe I better text him.
Here in Montana, we love our outdoor activities. Unfortunately, few of them are risk-free. Indeed, Montana is second in the nation per capita in head injuries that can destroy the lives of people we love. That's why you should insist your family always wear protective helmets. But you can do even more. When you fill out your vehicle registration this year, circle the Y and donate $1 to support traumatic brain injury prevention and education. Now that's using the old noggin.
Welcome to Aging Horizons, brought to you by the Department of Public Health and Human Services Senior and Long-Term Care Division. I'm your host, Brian Lamore. We're here in Great Falls at the Governor's Conference on Aging, and we have access to wonderful individuals to bring to you, and one of them is here from the McLaughlin Research Institute here in Great Falls. We have Tiffany Hensley McBain. You're the clinical research head here, and you know the McLaughlin Institute does a lot of wonderful things, but what's your little piece of it? What's your clinical research? What do you do?
Sure. So my lab is interested in how the immune system drives aging, and we use a lot of really interesting mouse models for disease. So these mice help us really understand what might be driving Alzheimer's disease, which after all these years, we really still don't understand that. When we talk about clinical research, we talk about trying to make sure that what we are seeing in mice also happens in people, because we want to make sure that what we're doing is going to lead to new ways to prevent, diagnose, or treat diseases like Alzheimer's disease. And the only way to really do that is to then take the research from mice to people.
Right, to bridge that. Well, and you're about to do that, aren't you? And how do you find individuals that could participate in this research?
Sure. So we have one study open right now that is in collaboration with the Great Falls Clinic in town. And that study is for a single blood draw. You just come in, you provide some blood, and that helps me understand what's happening with the immune cells in people with and without Alzheimer's disease. Now, we've been asking people to come and do that study through a lot of different means. You'll see us out in the community just telling you about our work, but we also have a really interesting registry that you can join, and later in a later segment, Rebecca Brown will be telling you how to join that registry, and we're very grateful to all the people that want to participate in our research.
Okay, so we have a website and a phone number we can put up on the screen.
Yes.
So people can go there and discover what you would like to find.
Yes.
But you're in Montana, so you're looking for Montanans. That's really nice. nice.
It is. You know, I grew up here in Great Falls. I'm from Montana. I left to do my PhD and postdoctoral work, but what's exciting to me about this research is that it's happening here and it needs to happen here. So Montana has been really underrepresented in clinical trials and clinical research in neurodegenerative diseases. There's been 8 trials in the history of clinical trials that have ever recruited here in the state. And right now there are 0 out of hundreds that are currently enrolling around the country. And what that means for Montanans is they're not represented, first of all, in the data that's being generated. So we don't really know how how treatments that are being tested in these big cities might actually work on people in Montana that have different environmental exposures. Our farm and ranch community, they experience different things. And what we know about Alzheimer's disease is it's very, we call it multifactorial. So there are a lot of things that could be contributing to the onset of disease. And it might be different for someone living in Montana versus someone living in New York City or San Francisco or Seattle. So it's really important that these types of clinical trials happen everywhere. So that's one of the reasons we want to bring them here. The other thing is people that are getting diagnosed with things like Alzheimer's disease near a research institute, they're having a very different path of care than people that in Montana are currently getting. That's because research tends to bring technology. Yes. So the people that are getting these really special diagnostics and things, that's often because research has made that possible.
Well, yeah, exactly, and that's really interesting. Now, you must reach out to a lot of physicians throughout the state of Montana because you're looking for a certain population. How do you do that? How do you find these individuals?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we've been very fortunate to connect with several physicians throughout the state who are interested in getting their patients to participate in our studies, and not getting them to, but really offering that to them because, like I said, it really is a benefit. But we are looking for more. We'd like to launch this statewide, and one of the grants that we have under review right now would be to recruit 400 Montanans around the state. And so while we are really excited to continue doing that by word of mouth like we've been doing, really we're going to be asking physicians to help us do that.
Well, you know, when you're talking about doing the research with mice, making the jump to humans, that's quite the big jump. And I imagine there's a lot of, I'll say, regulatory stuff that you have to go through. Is that taking a long time?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It has not been an easy endeavor, really, to get this infrastructure up and running. And I think that's what's so valuable about what we're doing is there are physicians that would be really interested in getting their patients these new treatment options that they could get through clinical trials, but they might not have the bandwidth or capacity to have the infrastructure that we have built. And so we have all of that regulatory infrastructure. We have connections with IRB, which is the oversight body that makes sure that we run our trials appropriately. We have all that in place, and so we really think that we could also be of service to others around the state who want to do this kind of research but don't want to start from the ground like we have.
Yeah. So you make your research available to other organizations. Once you find certain things out and you've established them, you share with the Alzheimer's community, research community?
Yes, absolutely. And that's been the availability of data has been a big push in the scientific community of late, and we make sure that any data that we acquire is available to other researchers. We make sure that we try to publish our data in journals that are accessible, not beyond a paywall. So we call that open access, and that's been really important to us as well. Really trying to make sure that what we find doesn't stay with us. We want it to get out there. We want other people to build off it because that's really what science is about.
Wow. It sounds like you have quite the operation going. I mean, the considerations for professionals, it's got to be amazing.
Yeah, it's been really exciting. We've recruited a lot of new people to the Institute. I feel very lucky having grown up in Montana to be providing research opportunities to other Montanans. So in my lab, I have people that either grew up here in Great Falls or trained at Montana State and they wanted to stay in Montana. Montana's a wonderful place, and so we're providing that opportunity to them.
Well, it's wonderful that Montana is such an attraction, but the professional opportunities that you offer them, what brings them here also. So it's a double-edged sword there. So we're just starting to brush the surface of the McLaughlin Institute here in Great Falls as what they're doing for research. We'll be talking about with more research people and the head of the McLaughlin Institute in just a moment, so stay tuned.
Elder abuse is a growing problem, and it's happening right here in our Montana communities. At least 1 in 10 older adults are victims of physical or emotional abuse, financial exploitation, or neglect. To get help or report elder abuse, call your local area agency on aging or Adult Protective Services at 1-844-277-9300.
Every 65 seconds, someone is affected with Alzheimer's or other dementias. Many become isolated at a time when help is most needed. If you or someone you love is affected, help is available, both for people with memory loss and their caregivers. Memory loss can feel frightening, but you are not alone. Call the free 24/7 Alzheimer's Association helpline, 800-272-3900, for guidance and support.
You mean I can get help paying my prescription drug premiums?
Let me get this straight. I could be eligible for help with my family's prescription premiums even though I own my own home?
And our assets won't be counted.
If you're a Montana resident enrolled in the Medicare prescription drug program, you could be eligible for help paying your premiums. Call or visit the Big Sky RX website today to find out, even if you think you're over income.
What do you know about that? I'm eligible.
When I found out it was diabetes, my first thought was, Barb, you need help. You have to take control of this. There is help. My doctor gave me a phone number. I called and signed up with a diabetes educator. There is help. I have to put blinders on when I walk past the bakery counter. I can feel my blood sugar go up. You succeed a little at a time. If you have diabetes, help is available. You do not have to do it alone.
Ask your doctor about diabetes education or visit montana211.org.
Welcome back to Aging Horizons. We're at the 54th Annual Governor's Conference on Aging, and we're talking with the McLaughlin Institute here in Great Falls. And we're continuing our discussion, and we're going to be talking about Alzheimer's and recruitment. Joining us is Rebecca Brown. You're the clinical coordinator at the McLaughlin Institute, and you're particularly focused on Alzheimer's. And you're looking for individuals that are physicians and possible volunteers for this program. Tell us more about that.
Sure. Thank you, Brian. We are always looking for physician partners to expand our clinical research efforts at McLaughlin Research Institute. So that is one primary goal. But another primary goal is to just build our participant base. We need a pool of participants from which to draw when we have studies that we need people to participate in. So to help facilitate that, we have created a registry. We call it the HERO Registry. The HERO stands for Help Expand Research Opportunities. And the purpose of that registry is not only to expedite enrollment when we have studies that need participants, but to also show the people that pay for studies, like the NIH or pharmaceutical companies, that Montanans are willing and ready to participate in this research. So yeah, it's really easy to register for our registry. We need people throughout the state over the age of 18. It's just an online form that you can access on our website, which should be posted on the screen. And we need people with and without the diseases that we study, because we need healthy controls, first of all, and we're also hoping to do some preventative studies, so with and without diagnoses of interest.
That's great. Now, if an individual is to participate, are the costs covered, or does our insurance cover it, or are they expected to cover some of the costs?
That's a great question, yes. Costs for participation in clinical research is covered via the research protocol, yep.
Great. And you know, we talked earlier, you have mice that you're working with right now, and you're getting good results, and you're going through the process to make the jump to human clinical trials. So you're probably looking for individuals with you're targeting particular individuals to see if this research can address them. How do you find out if the person who's volunteering is that target person?
Well, that's a great question. You know, on the registry form itself, we do ask if the person has been diagnosed with a diagnosis of interest, specifically Alzheimer's disease, mild cognitive impairment, Parkinson's disease, ALS, and age-related macular degeneration. And that's just, you know, voluntary. You can say yes, or you can even register somebody else, like your parent or your spouse. And then when we have trials that we're actively recruiting for, we would go through a more aggressive verification of that diagnosis. But right now, it's just we'll take your word for it.
Okay. Well, we hope to get people to sign up. But now the other side of that aspect of doing the research is you need their physician to work with you too. Are there certain physicians that are going to be active with this research, or like I'm qualified, so my personal physician will participate? Is there like a screening process?
So we're getting creative in that regard. And we hope to build some physician partnerships, specifically with some neurologists in town, as many of the diseases that we are interested in are neurodegenerative diseases. Yeah. So we're getting creative in that regard, and I don't have a straight answer for you yet, but willing to work in any way that we can with physician partners.
Well, do you have what they call it, a population? You want to populate your research. Do you have a number of individuals that you would like to have before you start the full clinical trials?
Well, our original goal is 1,000 people in our registry by the end of 2023. Currently, we're sitting at 360. So we do need your help. And so this is why we appreciate these opportunities. I will say that 17% of the people in our registry do have a diagnosis of interest, which I feel is a really good percentage. But we do want representation from all 56 counties.
56 counties. Yeah. Now, you're looking at individuals that, I'll say that you have some cognitive issues, and the person, if they have cognitive issues, they may not be applying. So I imagine it's important for loved ones who are watching and maybe talking with their coffee friends, saying, I know your spouse, your loved one, your parent has some issues, maybe you should look into this. So you kind of need a secondary group to help people apply.
Yeah, that's important. That's why I said you can sign your spouse or your parent up. And I want to highlight that by signing up for this registry, there's no obligation. You're essentially giving me permission to call you later to talk to you about whatever study I am recruiting for at that time. And that's when we would get into more details and verify those diagnoses and work on some additional factors in that regard. So this registry is just permission and you saying that you're potentially interested.
And I bet you want to know from the physician, verified, a physician is a professional that can say ABC with this individual, and that information, I imagine, helps research.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And we're getting really creative. We've formed some really great partnerships with some healthcare entities in town, Great Falls Clinic, for example, Indian Family Health, Alluvian and their partner, their lab. So we're really excited, and the community enthusiasm has been wonderful.
And, I think in our prior segment, it was important with Montanans is that we get a big cross-section of Montanans. I mean, we have ethnic groups that are, they congregate in our little towns, and are Native Americans. So it's probably very valuable to hit those different groups so that you can collect that information.
Absolutely. We actually have the 6th oldest population in the entire nation. Yeah. So by Montana not being included in Alzheimer's disease clinical research right now, Dr. Hensley McBain mentioned there are 0 currently recruiting studies on Alzheimer's disease. That means that not only is our population not being represented in those studies, how do we verify that the results of those studies are applicable to our elderly, our rural, and our Native American populations?
And that's all part of the verification of research. Is that how universal does it apply to people? And it's got to be fascinating work that you do. You imagine you enjoy working with your group of people.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I'm the nurse, so I'm the one that gets to talk to the participants themselves, and that's why I love my job.
Oh, that's great. Well, we've unfortunately drawn to a quick close on our second segment here, but it's been fascinating. I'm learning so much. I'm sure our viewers are, and they're looking for individuals to participate in this research. But as she also mentioned, is that want people that don't have those conditions, so they can have a control group. So it's pretty broad. If you have a family member that might qualify, maybe you can volunteer because you don't have those conditions. And I imagine that'd be valuable, as looking at familiar coincidences. Well, we got more information. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Respite care is amazing. If you are capable of doing it, the rewards are beyond measure.
Stephanie Young, respite care provider, on the unexpected benefits of helping people in need.
Being a respite care provider is an amazing experience. It's something that what you give, you get back 100-fold. You receive so much more than you could ever imagine.
To find out how to change lives, including your own, go to respite.mt.gov.
I think the most pleasant surprise when we turned 65 and signed up for Medicare Part B was finding out about our Welcome to Medicare preventive visit.
It was free, and it gave us the opportunity to visit with our doctors and establish a plan for our health going forward.
They reviewed our medical history, measured our height, weight, blood pressure, and counseled us on other risk factors.
To learn more about Medicare's free or low-cost preventive and wellness benefits, call your local SHIP counselor at 800-551-3191. I mentioned it's free, right?
Twice.
This is Bill. He just received his new Medicare card and is following some simple rules to protect himself from fraud. He knows to never give out his Medicare, Social Security, or bank number over the phone. And this is Nancy. She knows that to detect any problems, she always reads her Medicare summary notice or Medicare Advantage EOB to make sure the billing is correct. Both Bill and Nancy know that anything suspicious can be reported to Montana SMP at 1-800-551-3191.
I've been shooting since I was young. It's something I've always enjoyed. I wasn't feeling like myself, when my friend noticed. He asked if he could hold onto my guns temporarily. At first, I was a little shocked, but then I agreed. I think he saved my life that day.
Welcome back to Aging Horizons. We're at the 54th Governor's Conference on Aging here in Great Falls, and we're talking with the president of the McLaughlin Institute. We have Renee Rayo-Pera, and welcome to the show. It's great to have you here and your people. It's been very interesting, I found. But now, how did you start into the area of research?
Yeah, so I grew up on the South Shore of Lake Superior in Iron River, Wisconsin, a very small rural town. And I saw firsthand the challenges with Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, mental health, and other neurodegenerative diseases in aging. And I really became interested in research. Ultimately, I ended up in the Bay Area of San Francisco in California, and I was there for about 20 years as a professor at Stanford University and the University of California before becoming the vice president of research at Montana State. So I've had a journey, and that journey really has led here to the McLaughlin Research Institute. And it is one of the most special institutes that I could imagine ever working at. It is nonprofit, it is independent, and we have outstanding science and scientists, as you've just seen on this show. So it's this journey really came about because of the opportunity, and then also I was really motivated by a family member. My mother-in-law came to live with us when she was 88, and she died when she was 93. But I remember my mother-in-law saying, Renee, there are 3 things that I want. I want to still be able to think until I die. I want to be able to go to the bathroom, and I want to have some money left.
Yeah.
And so when I think about it, those are fundamentals of aging, and I think this is one of the most important areas to do research in.
Exactly. And the McLaughlin Institute, they do a lot of research. You know, we've been talking a lot about Alzheimer's because they're going to do some clinical trials, but you do more than Alzheimer's. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, my lab has historically worked on Parkinson's disease, and we use regenerative medicine techniques to study that. So it's cells in culture that we can make into the neurons that are lost in the brain. Other researchers are working on chronic wasting disease in deer and elk, and whether or not the disease can cross over to other species, including humans. And still others are working on ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease, and macular degeneration. And so we have a really great group of people that are really spanning the different areas of neurobiology or neurology.
Wow. And, you know, when you described, the chronic wasting disease in animals, I was thinking the Institute must have eyes everywhere because you're looking at everything. And where someone somewhere, maybe Florida, is discovered something that you guys want to know about it. So you got to, that's part of the research, I guess, side of it.
Yeah, it is. We do attend conferences nationally. We have journals. We're a partner with Touro University, the Montana campus here in Great Falls. And so we have a large outreach, and we have a lot of collaborators across the country at Harvard, Temple, Stanford, Columbia University. So we work with a lot of people.
And you have a lot of, I'll say, high-level people that are at the top in their research areas. I imagine you recruit. How is recruiting going to staff your positions?
Well, when we had one position for an assistant professor, we got 175 applications from across the country. And we hired two people, Michael Klingeborn, who works on macular degeneration, and Moses Levins, who works on Lou Gehrig's disease. Dr. Hensley McBain was hired before that, and Dr. Andrea Grindelin. And so we haven't had any problem recruiting people so far. But what we would like to do is make sure that we're also providing jobs and opportunities, as Dr. Hensley McBain said, to people in Great Falls and to scientists that are just starting out. And so we have an internship program as well for high school and college students.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, how big of an operation do you have here in Great Falls? What's your staffing levels?
It's relatively small. It's about 40 or 45 people, and we have expenditures of about between $3 and $4 million annually. And we just put in a grant, and we're hoping that we get it. That would be another $15 million for 5 years, renewable for 3 periods, for about $45 million. And we're doing some fundraising as well.
That's great. So you mentioned grants. There's probably, who issues these grants? Who are the people that are interested in your research?
The National Institutes of Health is the number one funder of our grants. But I'm a little tired today because I just submitted a grant to the Department of Defense. So it is very important. One of the causes of neurodegeneration can be exposure to chemicals by military, in our military service, and also head trauma. And so we're very interested in helping the Department of Defense with those that serve in the military as well.
I have a family member that had a head trauma, and you help the military, and then that translates into everyday persons in car accidents or whatever they do.
Absolutely.
So that's wonderful. It's amazing the depth and the breadth of this research, what they're looking into, who they're looking to participate as volunteers, both physicians and participants. At the website, you can get so much more information and see in more depth than we can go into on this show. So thank you for joining us here at the Governor's Conference on Aging.
Special thanks to the Department of Public Health and Human Services for their continued support. Hosts on Aging Horizons are program specialists at the Montana Office on Aging. Production facilities provided by Video Express Productions. For more information about Aging Horizons, call the Department of Public Health and Human Services toll-free at 800-332-2272.